This is Orsi, official old guy at oldguytalkstome.com, a podcast dedicated to helping older guys create kick-ass lives for themselves and those that they love. It's for women too. Each week, I bring you a special guest to help you create that life that you imagine for yourself and those that you love. We talk anti-aging medicine, personal growth, relationships, and sex, vices, and other topics that many don't want to talk about but need to. Just because you're getting older doesn't mean you have to be old. Also, if you want to know 3 ways to get laid more frequently without begging, go to oldguytalks.com and opt in. When you do, you're going to get my informative video on 3 simple things you can do to get laid more frequently without begging, so you don't have to turn in your man card. And ladies, you may want your man to know these things, because I think you'll like them too. Additionally, you'll be notified weekly when a new podcast episode is ready for you to consume. Periodically, I will share with you other stuff that will help you create that life that you want for yourself and those that are important to you. Don't want to miss anything? Be sure to subscribe, share, and review this podcast. This is part 1 of a 2-part series with Arnie Fonseca, trainer for epic adventures. Be sure to listen to both parts. Subscribe, share, rate, and review. This is Orsi, official old guy at oldguytalkstome.com, a podcast dedicated to helping older guys create kick-ass lives for themselves and those that they love. And today I got in the house Arnie Fonseca Jr., and Arnie is a very interesting guy. He has a burning desire to help and mentor individuals of all ages to achieve the edge in business, relationships, and health with unique strategies and tools and unconditional support as they navigate towards that next breakthrough on their success journey. What sets Arnie apart is he has a master's degree in exercise science and wellness from Arizona State University. He started to run multiple million-dollar companies. He's a certified strategic interventionist, life coach, rehabilitation expert, fitness and nutrition specialist. And since 1986, Arnie has been a guiding light for countless individuals and families struggling to achieve that breakthrough they desperately desire. Arnie guides and mentors and transforms his clients by clarifying their direction, strategizing their actions, upgrading their skills, optimizing their environment, and mastering their psychology so they can overcome any fears. So welcome Arnie to the program.
Thank you, Ars. Appreciate it, man.
Okay. So Arnie, I always like to start off my interviews with the question of, what is the most important thing you did today?
Wow. The most important thing I did today was my morning routine, which is I get up every day. I do some reading. I do some work in my Bible, and I journal, and then I do some meditation and prayer work, and that gets my alignment in the right spot. Just like your body needs to be in alignment to be able to perform at a high level. Your life needs to be in alignment at a high level to perform each and every day, and that includes your spiritual life as well, wherever that is with you. Which is all personal, but that's the most important thing that I've done today.
Yeah, you and I have shared a similar morning ritual because I do that. It takes me a little bit, an hour and a half to do. Sometimes a little bit shorter, sometimes a little bit longer. Sure. But and some days it's really, really good, and some days, well, I just checked it off. Yeah. But on the days that it's really, really good, they wouldn't exist if you didn't have the other days where you just kind of check it off and get
exactly. Yeah,
it's consistency. So,
a lot of people have trouble understanding that too, and you know, some, if they're open to it and they want to learn about it, they'll be more curious, and others will just kind of look at you like you're an oddball, and that's okay, because it's taken, in your case, it's taken years to develop that routine that works for you, and then like any other habit, it just takes years to solidify until a point that, even when I travel, I'll take my journal with me or my Bible, whatever I need. Unless like last weekend when I was at the bottom of the Grand Canyon, I didn't have it with me. But when I finished, it was with me in my suitcase. So I got right back on track the next morning.
Yeah, I've had the opportunity to do meditation and journaling in some of the most beautiful places.
Yeah.
And sometimes even places that you wouldn't think about, like the tower in a hotel in Boston
Sure.
overlooking the bay. It was just beautiful being up there, and even though it was cold, it was November. Even though it was cold, it was actually just very invigorating, and had a lot of good meditation, a lot of good breakthroughs in there.
Well, especially when you're on your own, and sometimes it's early in the morning, and you just get up, and because something pulls you to get up, and you grab that journal and whatever you need to do, and sometimes that and maybe it's a cup of coffee along with it, but sometimes sitting there and doing that for, even if it's just 15 minutes, is plenty to get everything lined up right.
Yeah, and it's funny you should mention a cup of coffee, because my morning starts with I interviewed a Dr. Bata about meditation, and he suggested something which I actually really have taken to heart, is to start my meditation, and I have it with a cup of coffee, but basically quiet but open-eyed, taking in what's going on in the backyard and stuff, and then after that, close my eyes and go into a more traditional meditation, and that's really made the morning frivolous. So, you are really into fitness,
right?
I mean, obviously, and you've done a lot of things. You've done adventure racing, all sorts of other stuff like that. Why are fitness and culture important, especially in companies? Because I know you talk to a lot of companies.
Well, number one, I mean, fitness, wellness. When I first started my master's program 35 years ago, wellness was a big thing in companies. A lot of programs, and I that was part of my master's program as well. And then it kind of, like in the 90s, kind of drifted away. But main thing is, Oris, and we talked about it for a while in our society, in our communities, how important it was for the workplace to be healthy, to keep our healthcare costs down. That was a big point of debate, 15 years ago, and we've kind of like dropped the ball on all that. It's not that important. What's more important is to, I guess, get people medicated. So in my world is like, I bought into that, because that was my world since I was a young man, to stay healthy so that I don't need a pill or a potion, or to be under a doctor's care. And it's just gone so bad the other way. I mean, I don't know. I'll be honest with you. And I'm not, we're close in age, but I'm not that as old as you yet. And you've got medical background. I don't know if we can reverse course at this point, because too many people have found it so easy to go to the doctor and get a prescription, because doctors are liable if they don't prescribe.
Yeah,
they can get in trouble. And so we have now embedded in our brains, those habits I talk about that were positive. Mm-hmm. You can create the same kind of habit on the negative side, which is what we're doing with, well, I got to have my medications. I mean, people that they open up their little pill box, where in the old days you might have some vitamins in there. Now it's like a slew of medications. Like, oh my God, this is incredible.
Well, the whole health ecosystem is set up for pharmaceuticals. It's first of all, I mean, what a lot of people may not know is that a lot of their physicians now really are employees for a private equity group. Yes. They are on production schedules. They're on time clocks. And if they don't perform, they get cut loose. And so their thing is get you in, get some procedure codes or diagnostic codes, and in medicine, diagnostic codes down. So because those are billable, get some prescriptions that the farm rep left with the lunch. Or maybe they had dinner, or they took them on vacation.
Well, yeah, they got the rules have changed with all that too. But no, you're exactly right. You nailed it. But let me tell you a fun little story, Oris. Let me tell you a fun story here. Just recently, and I've been doing this for years. I've been helping people avoid surgery. Let's say it's a knee surgery, okay? Mm-hmm. And which these and I have friends that are orthopedics. If most of them knew what I was doing, they wouldn't like what I was doing. Because it's a passion of mine to take business away from those guys. Because I know that many people can avoid those kind of surgeries with weight loss. Okay, for one thing.
Oh, sure.
Or with some simple, and we're actually putting together a program right now, which I'll be launching here in the next week or two, on some really neat alignment movements for the knees and hips and back that are going to be, it's not that it's revolutionary, but it's revolutionary in that it's now coming back into, because people are hungry for this kind of information because they're not getting it from their medical community. Their doctors are not going to tell them, hey, if you do these 5 things, you can, as I would say, bulletproof your knees from needing surgery. Could you imagine an orthopedic saying that to his patient?
Yeah.
Could you imagine that, Oris? That would actually be a great thing, but they're not going to do that. And it's very sad because I was just talking to somebody just 15 minutes ago before we started, and we were talking about his shoulder. And I said, the problem with what we're teaching people, whether it be a shoe that will give you a little more support or whatever it might be, it will create another position in your body that you'll have to adapt to. Mm-hmm. So if you have a weak left shoulder, then you're going to lean more on your right shoulder, which might cause a problem in your lower back and hip, which might eventually lead to a problem in your opposite knee, which could create a problem in your foot and your ankle. And you'll go, well, wait a minute, I just had my foot's hurting, but I have these specialized orthotics. Why aren't they working anymore? Mm-hmm. Well, it's not that. It's not the orthotics problem. It's the fact that you never took care of the other shoulder. You just kind of worked away. And that's what we're kind of teaching people to do. And then we have all these people that pop up, Oris, and fill those gaps. Well, I'm going to create a new shoe, or I'm going to create a new back brace, or I'm going to create a new shoulder harness, or I'm going to create, it's just whatever, or a new pain modality. And so whereas I look at things holistically, and I know you do too, it's like, okay, what can we do to solve the whole person here? Let's look at the whole thing here, and let's kind of rebuild this thing from kind of like when it's really big right now to buy houses and then refurbish them.
Right. Yeah.
Sometimes it's better just to gut the whole damn thing and go in there and really, right. Let's gut this thing and let's because you can do that. Oris, we can do whatever we want with this body. We really can if we want to.
Yeah, there's so many things that are out there right now other than surgery that's available in terms of healings from from functional exercises to peptides and other things.
Oh man! But have you heard recently on that they're starting, the FDA is starting to really outlaw the use of peptides now? They're going offshore.
Well, there's some companies that have, and there's some companies that aren't. There's some companies that were very bad in this space, and the FDA is coming down hard on it. But there's still a lot of uses, a lot of good practitioners. I actually interviewed Bill Seeds, who's he's actually an orthopedic surgeon, who is the president of the International Society of Peptide Medicine. And he actually, so Arnie, he's actually working on a technique of building back cartilage.
I know. I've been telling people that for years. I've been reading about that for years, Oris. It's possible.
Yeah,
it's happening.
Possible. Yeah, it's happening. And so things like that. Did you know that there are 76 additives that have been approved by the FDA that can be added to wines? You want a wine with shit in it that may not be good for you? Well, there is an option for wines that have been produced naturally, organically, that have been tested, that have no sugar. And when they don't have any sugar, that means that they're ketosis and intermittent fasting friendly. These wines have been produced with a great deal of care on small farms and are available to you. How do you get them? Find out by going to www.oldguytalks.com/dry farms. Dry farms, all one word with an S, and find out more. And with your initial order, you can get a bottle for 1 penny. That's right, a bottle for 1 penny. And they taste great. They taste great. Don't wait, don't hesitate, don't procrastinate. Get those wines now. So things like that. Arnie, what's the you work with men of all different ages.
Yes.
And I would think to say that this may not be true for all, but for many men at different ages, they have different challenges. And could you kind of talk about some of the challenges that men face at different points in their life?
You know, it's interesting. I started off back in the 80s. I was one of the first researchers at ASU, and we were doing some of the first research with older individuals. And actually, back then, older was 55 and up. That was old.
Man. Oh man, I'm way past that.
Oh yeah, yes. You and I both. You and I both. But my research drifted into like 85, 90-year-olds. That's where I did a lot of the work. And back then, it wasn't thought that individuals of that age could get stronger and get better. And then now it's all just accepted now because they can. So anybody of any age can get stronger, can get better, can do lots of things. And so, of course, in that age group, the main things, and even today, are balance and strength, because they're both related. The stronger I can get somebody, the better their balance will be. And then it's about confidence and trying new things. Because for many years they've told themselves, or their families have told them, they couldn't do things. And I go in, and I've lost clients because of this, because I'll tell them what they can do. And families don't want to hear that stuff. I mean, I get people walking around without canes and walkers, and they toss them, and because the individual doesn't understand this stuff. I do, because I understand the importance of them, especially for men, of being independent and confident again. And they don't want to be put in a box and thrown away into some retirement place. They hate that. They hate it. And so, whereas the family is all about, wrapping bubble wrap around them and keeping them safe. Well, that's not the way they want to live. That's not the way this generation wants to go down. So for those people, it's remaining independent. Now let's go way back now to 20 and 30-year-olds. These guys are in a confused state right now. So their thing is, they're being beat above the head and shoulders about being too manly or being too aggressive and being too this, being too that. And so we've turned them into a big bunch of mush. And so these guys, and if you measure, a lot of it's because of our the water and the food and everything else that they're eating, their testosterone levels are tanking in 20s and 30-year-olds. It's really sickening. And so,
well, I don't know if you've noticed lately, Arnie, but the ranges on the lab have dropped.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not, and they just recently.
I think it's 250 now, isn't it?
I think the low is 250. And it used to be like I think in the 400s, and the high, now it's considered high, is anything above 900. Or about 960, but it used to be just a couple of years ago. I mean, maybe just it was like over 1100, and prior to that, it was high. I mean, and there's a male normative aging study which talks about the decline of testosterone in men generationally. Yeah,
and we're doing it to them, and then so these guys are confused, and a lot of it is the way is their lifestyles. A lot of it is their nutrition. A lot of it is their lack of exercise. Because, I mean, look, if you go out and play and do an hour's worth of exercise a day, that's fine. But combine that with, 23 hours of sitting around and doing nothing. That's not fine, because they're not active. These are not active. And then you combine that with excessive binge drinking and pot, marijuana. The pot that they're smoking today is a whole lot different than stuff we had. And this stuff will knock your freaking testosterone to the freaking ground. And so combine all this, we got ourselves a mess worse. And here's where it becomes an issue. The young women that are dating these guys or wanting to marry these guys get sick of them after a while, because they want a real man to step up.
Well, it's interesting that the same thing that's happening to testosterone, the exact reverse. And there's a Shanna Swan, I think is her name. She's a PhD epidemiologist that wrote a book called, it just came out, called Countdown. And she says that, and we've seen this. I saw a picture of a friend of mine. His daughter was going to prom. She looked like she was 22. He looked like he was 14. I mean, I was like, and young girls are maturing. They're starting to menstruate younger. They're developing breasts younger. All of that is happening. And not only that, but she also, you mentioned the testosterone. In the last 30 years, men's sperm levels have dropped by 50%. And this is compounded with the fact that not just the quantity, but the quality, and the quality of women's eggs is also not what it was decades ago. So, I mean, and this is all the endocrine disrupting
Yeah,
compounds, the GMOs,
Yep.
pesticides, you name it, all our factors. So,
And we could get real political about all this. 'Cause in many ways, I even think that our powers that be are kind of in on it. But that's a whole other show. But
we'll need Arnie. We'll need our tinfoil hats for that one.
Yeah, exactly. Because they'll think we're crazier than we already are, or
Yeah. So, Arnie, it's very interesting when you talked about that, because I know that a lot of physicians, especially a few of the radiologists I talk about younger and younger men showing up in their clinics with low testosterone, and so it's a huge factor. It's a huge factor in terms of confusion and development as a male, because what makes you a man is your testosterone.
Yeah,
and low testosterone. Again, this will be very political. A person who is not as male is not more female. They're not on a continuum.
No.
A person with less testosterone becomes a eunuch.
Right. And plus their brains aren't developing. We're not developing fully until we're 25 years of age. We're not giving them a fair shake with what we're feeding them and treating how we're treating them and all. It's just not fair. It's not fair to these folks, and it really pisses me off. But at the same time, let me finish that question you had with the middle group here. Let's talk about guys that are, like maybe 40 to 60. These guys are under a tremendous amount of stress because they are now trying to take care of their kids, maybe in their 20s and 30s, and they're also trying to take care of their folks as well. So they're kind of being sandwiched. So they're stressed out time-wise, money-wise. They're not taking the time to hit the gym, take care of themselves, and do the things that they need to nurture themselves. And so they're setting themselves up for the big fall in their later days, because they're not doing, and they might be drinking more. Who knows? Sometimes to alleviate that stress in their lives, they tend to lean more into the maybe to numbing, the drugs, the drinking and stuff like that. And it's generally not the exercise. Yeah, because I'm around people that exercise, Oris, but I always tell people this when I do a talk. Look, I may be like, I haven't gone to a gym in over a year, but I go to a gym. We have a great underground gym, but I'm around people that exercise and compete and do things. But when people think, wow, all these people are, no, they're not. That's a very small percentage. I've been saying it now for 5 years, Oris, that less than 50% of the people in the United States do any movement at all, besides getting up in the morning and taking a shower. Some don't even have to do that anymore because of the way with this whole stay-at-home crap. So very few people are moving in this country, or it's less than 50%. What do you think that's going to do to us in about 5 more years, pal?
Oh yeah. It's all sorts of diseases are going to be cropping up.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Thanks for joining me on this podcast. If you like what you heard and learned, then be sure to do 3 things. 1, subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. 2, share this with someone who may need to hear it also, and it may be your significant other. And 3, review it. Give me a good review. If you didn't like it, give me a bad review. I don't care. Just review me. And be sure to get my free video on 3 ways to get laid more frequently without begging. Opt in at oldguytalks.com. Don't be that guy that just takes in the information. Take action. Without action, you're not going to get the results you want.